Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for the Blub World Web Talks. This is the 233rd episode of the Blub World Web Talks. In the last 232 episodes, we have talked to, interacted with more than 4,000 school leaders on this very platform where they've shared their ideas, opinions, innovations, and what all new are they doing in the education space. तो नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स के 233वें एपिसोड में। पिछले 232 एपिसोड्स में हमने करीबन करीबन 4,000 से ज्यादा शिक्षाविदों से बातचीत की और उनसे जानने की कोशिश की कि वो शिक्षा को कैसे बदल रहे हैं और शिक्षा उन्हें कैसे बदल रही है. So today, in the next 30 to 40 minutes that we have with our amazing guests who are here with us today, we'll try to know and interact about something that's now becoming even more critical, because now the kind of generation that we have, the kind of teenagers that we have in schools, in colleges, everywhere, everyone's getting a little bit touchy. So when everyone gets a little bit touchy, how do you manage healthy relationships? How do you take care of all the stakeholders who have different interests, who might have different perspectives to the same thing that you might be saying? Policies now have to be more emotion driven. Rules have to be more humanistic. You have to be more empathetic. When you need such soft corners for hard communications, what happens? What's the kind of reactions do we get? How do leaders think of policy making? How do leaders think about making rules? How do they think about communication with all the stakeholders in a school and in a university? That's what we'll try to know in the 30 to 40 minutes that we have today. We'll be talking about healthy relationships, understanding boundaries, and communication. And this will be with the perspective of teenagers, students, parents who might be involved or are involved in the school ecosystem. And we'll also try to know a perspective from the bird's eye view or the university perspective, that what do they think? How is that relationship building? How is that ecosystem changing or evolving within that short span of time when a student traverses from the school ecosystem to the university ecosystem? Because that's when the orientation challenges really come into play. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Let me invite the first speaker for today to initiate the session. Before I actually invite the first speaker, two important things. First of all, Blub World Web Talks is like a speaking sprint. It's like a 100-meter race. It's not a marathon. So your speaking time is limited. So once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity interesting for everyone. Secondly, you'll see that hand raised of Blub World. That means your final 30 seconds are counting. So you can start concluding once you see that hand up in the air. Secondly, this is a bilingual platform, so you can use English or Hindi, any of these two languages, whichever you're comfortable with. Please don't use a third language, because I might not get it. So thank you so much, everyone. A very warm welcome to the 233rd episode. Let's talk about healthy relationships in education. Let me invite the first speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Dr. Srinath Balkundhi, the Controller of Examinations from Sri Sri University, Cuttack, Odisha. Srinath sir, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
So first of all, thankful to all the Blub World organizers and other members for giving this opportunity. So once again, I welcome all my fellow colleagues for this particular event. Having said it's a healthy relationship, so first we should think of the students on a centric role. The old generation, whatever we have studied, that is entirely different, and the present generation students are entirely different. In दोनों में बहुत गहराई है. So whatever we have been taught in earlier childhood, it was a teacher centric. But now the scenario has changed. You go for school education or higher education, everywhere it is student centric. So there is a paradigm shift of education methodology, pedagogy, what we call it as. Entirely, it is not the same thing. Sometimes we feel whether we are doing it perfect or not, but we have to accustom and adjust to the generation, the students' requirement, the parents' requirement. This is how the environment should be created in such a way that we should satisfy the parents, we should satisfy the students' education, and at the end point, the outcome should give you the results. So the school administration or university administration, we have n number of competition in this competitive world. Taking into consideration all these factors, it is not that much of easy to build a healthy relationship, teacher, student, and the stakeholders, of course, the parents. So this is how the cordial relations we should maintain. Students should be given all opportunity to express their views, whether it is a basic kindergarten to the PhD of university level. The students should be given all opportunities, and that factors we have to consider before we go for any modification, curriculum development, or assignments. Everything we have to consider these aspects. Automatically, this will inspire the students. So our curriculum should be very strong. The delivery channel should be very accurate, and this is how we can work out the healthy relationship of the teacher, student, and the other things, other stakeholders. So here, the facilitator, the administrator, their support is also very important, because teacher is not the deciding factor. Whatever support we get from regulatory agencies like the government agencies, the supports for university like from UGC and all, there is a lot of change requirement is required. And present, I hope this NEP 2020 also will serve maximum to enhance the healthiness of teaching, learning, and what we call it as the assessment or evaluation. These three are the basic pillars of any education system. So thank you. This is my first observation.
Thank you so much, Srinath sir. I think you're very right when you say that in a university ecosystem, the kind of complexities get increased to a completely different level because a lot of autonomy comes in. And that's where the curriculum challenges, the challenges of handling children becomes even more critical. And the complete team has to finally come together where, it's the right pressure from all the stakeholders. Only then the right kind of relationship can be built among teachers and students. Thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Asim Siddique, the Manager, Outreach and Admissions for ITM Skills University, Institute of Design and Media from Mumbai, Maharashtra. Asimji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you for inviting me for the Blub World, where we put some, I mean, give them a information about like how to maintain a healthy relationship. So basically, what I heard, like student, like when they come for the admission, so student when they come to decide. So like in design school, in a lot of design, not only this design, many design school, they have to very clear about the specialization and what exactly they will be doing. So in similar that way, what they can do is they will be, I mean, clear to like before taking any admission or before finalizing anything, they have to create a portfolio, and creating those portfolio that make clarity to their mind whether they fit for that particular domain or not. And even like one sec, and even like are they wanted to whether they pursue their career, they should pursue their career in that domain or not. So similarly that way, when they are insisting to their parents, and when they coming for the admission, or whatever they're deciding, they should do their homework, they should do your homework, and they should do some sort of take some steps, and they should do some particular uh, they should do some homework, and they should do some portfolio project to similar to those projects, so that, I mean, that give them a hands-on activity where they can clear their mind, as well as they'll be able to figure it out what's their goal and what they will be doing in future. So according to that, they can, I mean, they'll able to they'll be able to figure out what exactly they want to do in career.
Thank you so much, Asimji. So you talked about when they delve a little bit deeper in the subject, they might be able to have better relationships when they come into the college, whether with the teachers, whether with their colleagues, with their peers. Subject matter expertise will be something that will always play a critical role when we talk of, healthy relationships in an education ecosystem. When it's a design college, it typically depends on the kind of portfolio that they're building. Thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Aprajita Ralli, the principal of Srinath International School from Hyderabad, Telangana. Before I invite ma'am, I would like to, typically put forth a point of view where do you think the kind of teens that we have right now in schools, the kind of behavioral patterns that they bring in, do you see some kind of, when we say relationship challenges, not in the sense of their emotion, not only their emotional understanding, but their social understanding as well? Because when they are in a school, it's a kind of a socio-emotional ecosystem, which has to be, balanced. So over to you, ma'am, for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Daksh. The Gen Z, as we call them, they are people with no filters. They are not awestruck as we used to be. We used to always follow the policy of think before you speak. These people will speak and not think at all. So we are, handling a atom bomb all the time in our hands, and we are okay with that. Plus, being a leader, one has to communicate with the entire spectrum of society, whether it's peers, my own peers, my teachers, my parents, the parents that I have of my students. So it's like a ticking bomb, as I said. So therefore, the boundaries, along with the healthy communication, the boundaries have to be very clearly drawn. The healthy communication comes through, establishing a kind and fair environment, the justness of it, the big picture which is getting drawn, the purpose of why we all are there in the educational system. And, that has to get established by the leader, first of all. So for me, the mantra is being kind and fair. The next thing that I believe in is being opening to listening, because communication is a two-way process, isn't it? It is listening and speaking. So that transparency needs to be brought in there. Plus, I always maintain a very positive body language. The smile is always there, and I'll always have that eye contact. The eye contact can tell the person whether you're crossing the line or you're within that. So that also sets the boundaries very clearly for me. As I said, setting expectations early on in the conversation becomes very, very healthy when I'm talking to my subordinates and my team, plus the parents. So there are certain things that I always will say, something like, "Excuse me, really? Can I just hear you again, please? I didn't get what you are saying." This can be read in two ways, wherein, the listener will feel that, or the speaker will feel that I am not clear on what they've said, or I've not liked what they've said. So they will rephrase what they have to. That is opening out another set of conversation for them, which is a healthier relationship building. Plus, we are also setting that line again and again. So the smile stays, the body language stays, the justness and the fairness stays, the kindness stays, and never forget the bigger picture, which is open-mindedness to listening. I think, when you have the perfect combination of all of that, the healthiness of the relationship automatically comes in, and you are happy as a leader then. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aprajita. I think that's the kind of response that we were expecting from school leaders, where we typically wanted to know that how that complete spectrum, changes your role as a leader, and at the same time is able to enforce relationships that stay. Because when you are in a school, the communication is, with a kind of since it's a people-facing job at the end of it. So there are a lot of people involved. So it gets very typical to manage so many perspectives, keep everyone convinced and happy throughout the complete journey. So let me try to summarize what you said. A very important element to having good relationships is that people must realize that there's justice in the environment. That yes, we'll be fair to everyone and we'll be empathetic to everyone. Transparency will ensure trust, that's for sure. Setting expectations will be very important, and a very good skill that you mentioned that a lot of leaders, specifically in the education space, use is polite probing. That are you really saying the right thing when I'm hearing you? If it or what it's called in the communication space, appreciative inquiry. I'm inquiring whether you're really phrasing it the right way. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Jigme Sherpa, the principal of British Grammar School from Nepal. Jigme sir, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome. From you, would like to know that how does relationships with your ecosystem, with your stakeholders in your school, how do you maintain, calmness and peace for everyone? Over to you.
I think the kind of we live in a real world, so there's not always calmness and peace, but a lot of knowledge and skills regarding developing, especially about developing emotional intelligence among the students and the staffs is the most important component, I guess, to make sure that we understand each other and develop and at least maintain the relationship. Until and unless we don't identify that, what are the emotions the other person is getting through, we'll never be able to try to get what they are trying to communicate to us. So a lot of sessions are held here in our space regarding emotional intelligence, trying to manage your emotions, trying to ensure that we understand the emotions of the students and manage it. And if we talk about teenagers, it's a very different spectrum here in Nepal as of now, because there are lots of issues going through for the teenagers, and it used to, but now it's really open, and that is also the best part, that if we are able to see these problems, then we have to go and act on it. So I think ultimately it's all about trying to understand them, counsel them, and make sure that they are being heard. Because nowadays, that is the biggest problem. Teenagers, they are not able to get enough time at their families, or maybe they are into broken families. There are so many reasons to feel unhappy, to feel unheard. So school has to be that space where they should feel heard, and that can only start after we ensure that our teachers, our staffs know what actually emotional intelligence is and how we are able to recognize someone's emotions.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you relied a lot of your topic on emotional intelligence among students and staff, where you use regular training sessions for the staff so that they do understand that how do you read emotions of that student who might bring some kind of a dissatisfaction either from the family or from some peer group or from some situation. Only then we'll be able to foster good, comfortable relationships with everyone. And as you started with, that we do live in a real world, and it's very difficult to have calm and peace throughout the journey. But yes, we have to continuously reinforce this fact that we have to understand people around us, be emotionally respectful to them, and most importantly, a teenager, and specifically when we talk of the teen community, the teens that are in the school, their parents, this specific set of age group is always a little dissatisfied with the things that are going around them. So you have to build a system where they feel that when I'm in a school, it's a safe space for me, that here I am being heard. So thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. S. Anand, the principal of Aditya Vidya Vihar Higher Secondary School from Khargone, Madhya Pradesh, India. Anand, sir, over to you. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Daksh and all the other dignitaries. It is really an exciting, excellent topic, healthy relationships, understanding boundaries and communication. Because, nowadays in this world, there should be a boundary, and even communication skills plays a main role in our every aspect of life, from personal relationships to professional interactions. Boundaries and communications play a pivotal role. Boundaries, it serves as the framework for defining the individuality, needs, and limits, while communication is the bridge that connects the person to others. So that's one of the main. And if you see communication, communication is the importance. Mainly, it is the bedrock of any successful relationship. It's a way to express your thoughts, feelings, and desires. Developing strong communication skills is essential for nurturing healthy relationships. And of course, if you see, for setting the boundaries, we are here. We have to follow a few tips, like figuring out what you want from your relationship, and then set boundaries based on the needs. It has to set clearly and respectfully, because speak out openly, comfortably, with what you like and don't like. Listening and asking the partner for their comfortness. A relationship should enrich lives and require us to grow as people and advocate for our needs. And coming for as educators, we educators, it's mandatory creating and sustaining boundaries, the physical, emotional, and mental limits we put in place to honor our personal needs and role as educators. It helps to not only avoid burnout but also prevent a role confusion, build trust, ensure professionalism, foster student independence, and teach students how to respect boundaries outside the classroom. It also reduces anxiety for the teachers and also for their students. So actually, every school, they have to implement these communication skills, professional skills, and life skills. These all three mingled together in one word, we can say soft skills. If this is implemented in all the schools, at least in the timetable, at least once in a week, excellent. Nowadays the present generation goes on very well, because these communication skills plays a vital role. Even it is in, it should be in all the four corners, like management, teachers, students, parents. All these four categories, they need the main concept of this communication and also to set their boundaries. Of course, yeah. Anyway, thank you. Of course, there are more points.
Thank you so much, Anand sir. Let me try to summarize what you said. You talked about a very critical element of the topic where we talk of setting boundaries. When we have a generation that's not ready to think before they speak, how do we set boundaries? How do we build those systems and those walls that typically keep everyone safe so that the norms of society are understood and not misunderstood at the same time? Because these specific boundaries that we set during the school time is when we really try to balance the individuality of an individual and the norms or the kind of behavior that the society expects. So are we really treading in the right way when we talk of this? Need-based boundaries keep everyone involved and everyone comfortable, so that people also know that this is a societal need, so that the society remains comfortable, and this is the need of individual's creativity and his own expression, so that he or she remains comfortable. You also talked about soft skill training goes a long way because that's where we talk of communication. I think with soft skill training, we also must understand that soft skill training with a perspective of not only employability, but with a perspective of citizenship and your role in the society. That will also add a lot to the individual. Thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Siddharth Rajgadia, the Director for Delhi Public School from Nasik, Maharashtra. Siddharth, sir, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. When we talk of relationships, I would first like to rather question that why are relationships important? And if you go back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs for any human being, if you create a similar Maslow's hierarchy of needs for students, you would see that there are three needs that are important for every student. In If those needs are met, the child is essentially growing and is happy and is learning. And those needs are a need of feeling belonging in a particular environment. The second would be they should feel empowered in an environment. And the third would be that they should enjoy that environment. And if these three needs are met, that is when positive relationships would function. So relationships essentially largely lead to building belongingness out of these three needs. And when we look at relationships, so for belongingness, it is not really that a student and teacher relationship is the most important thing. Belongingness would also come from student to student relationship. How do my peers treat me? How do my teachers treat me, right? How do I think of myself in this environment? Do I feel that am I contributing in this environment, or am I not contributing in this environment? So all of those things would actually lead to belongingness. And something that we've practiced and I've really advocated is giving a lot of voice and choice to the student body, co-creating a lot of rules, continuously referring to the rules that you create at the beginning of the year, giving them an anchor, giving the student body, the teacher body an anchor to continuously refer to. Stories are a great way to create rules. A story, like, even to grade 11th and 12th, if you discuss a rabbit and a tortoise story and you discuss consistency, and you actually put out a rabbit and a tortoise in their classroom as an anchor, and whenever there is a child who is not doing consistently, you just refer to that picture and you say that, would you like to be a rabbit or would you like to be a tortoise in that story, right? Which one would you like to be? And that really tells them. And also, what I've understood, that for teenagers, if we give them self-reflective questions and give them time and space, they actually course correct themselves if they're not in a peer pressure kind of a situation, right? So the peer pressure is something, so that's where belongingness. So I would rather look at relationships as belongingness and not like bilateral relationships. So we should rather consider like the human dynamics that go around in the school. It's a really really complex social dynamic that go in the school. And I think as an educator, we must figure out how to really be the master to engage in that dynamic and really lead that in the positive direction such that learning takes place.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, sir. I think you very aptly moved the discussion to even more serious pedestal where you talk of rather than just those bilingual or bi individual relationships, it's actually about the human ecosystem that's going around, the kind of dynamics that play around in a school. We talked about Maslow's hierarchy when we talk in the perspective of teenagers. So what are the kind of needs that they have? So as a teenager, the first and the most important thing that they're looking at is, do I fit into the system, or the sense of belongingness? Do I really belong in this place? Because most of the teenagers, most of the time, feel that they're alienated. Not their parents, nor their teachers, nobody understands them. That's why the feeling of revolution comes in. And that's where the school becomes even more critical, when they have to give them the feeling that, yes, you're empowered and you can still enjoy the ecosystem by giving them the voice and the choice that, yes, be a part of the decision making. So they also feel that, yes, I am important, I'm a part of the system. Anchor to, I think, a very important example that you gave, that if you are exemplifying or you're trying to personify something in front of students, give them an anchor, give an anchor to the story that you're telling. That's something that will create a lasting impact for everyone who's listening. And finally, self-reflective questions which give them an opportunity to correct course. So at the end of the day, the onus has to shift from the typical decision makers to the teenager. This small little transition will help a lot when we talk of a flourishing school ecosystem with the perspective of relationships. Thank you so much, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Subham Bhakat, the principal of Adarsh Academy from Pilibhit, Uttar Pradesh. Subhamji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Daksh, for inviting me here. So can I just share the screen?
So screen sharing is not allowed.
Okay, fine. Okay. So first of all, I would like to just try to understand what is the topic all about. It's about the healthy relationships, understanding boundaries and communication. So the three important pillars, which are the parents, the teachers, and the students, and out of which the student plays the most important role in this entire ecosystem of the educational pedagogy. And here, if we have these three pillars here, the one which is most important is student. And I would go back to the time when there was Gurukul, concept of Gurukul there, and where the concept was that of Guru and Shishya. And where in Guru and Shishya, the Guru was the one giving instructions and the Shishya was the one listening to all those instructions. But things are not the same these days. And it's all about child-centric education. And next, as an alumni of Vishwabharati, I would like to point about Tagore, who tells about a different kind of atmosphere in terms of education, where it tells I have been a student of Vishwabharati, and where we never call teachers as sir. We always refer to them as dada, which is a Bengali term which means elder brother. So the brotherly feeling was always there, and they were like a protective, like someone who is protecting us. Huh? So a protective armor which is there around us. So that was a kind of feeling which Tagore wanted to tell us, and we are moving forward with that kind of a journey. So I have been to South for a couple of years, and it's the second academic year I am there in North, and the things are completely different here. So when we are discussing about the things like child-centric education, and when we are thinking about the gender inequality, so all these things, caste, creed, religion, plays a very important role here. So when this plays a very important role here, as a leader, you are questioned in terms of your caste, creed, and religion every now and then. As a parent, people come and question you, and as a person, you are being judged on the basis of religion, your caste, and creed. So as a leader, it becomes very difficult to handle such kind of a situation. So as a leader, what I have started after coming here is I call a set of students, new admissions, and I try to talk with them and try to understand their way of thinking. What do they think about the teachers? Do they really respect the teachers? Or is it like only they are paying the fees and just getting them get educated? So the things are completely different here. So my point is, whenever we are trying to move from teacher centric to child centric education, child centric education is always talking about the child, but it is not talking about the teacher. It is not talking about the boundaries. So I remember when I was just 21 and I started teaching, at that point of time my principal and the interviewer asked me how will you tackle the students who are in grade 11th and 12th? So I know my boundaries, but maybe the students are not aware of it. But as an educator or the facilitator, we will have to set certain boundaries that this is our limit. Okay. So nowadays it cannot be like there is fixed certain goals, like you have to do this, you have to do that. Now you have to be like friends with them. You have to understand their psychology. Therefore, the concept of student counselor is there altogether. When we were students, there were hardly any schools with student counselors. Now we have schools with student counselors where we go to them. Like the point of contact is not only the hierarchy, not the.
Thank you so much, Shubham. So the first 3 minutes were over. But I think some very important points that you raised when you even talk of just within India, if we talk, the ecosystem in South is very different. It's the North, it's again very different. And since we are a very culturally rich country, so culture has a big role to play when we talk of relationships. It actually impacts everyday decision making. When you're a leader or when you're a student, everyone has to face that kind of an ecosystem where you're identified by the group from where you come from. So that's something that poses a very different kind of challenges. You talked about the concept of Vidya Bharati, where brotherhood is actually promoted rather than a teacher-student relationship, where you understand that the teacher is not there just to teach. The purpose is to keep you comfortable and keep you guarded. You have brothers around you who will be keeping you comfortable. It's not that they'll just be there to instruct or deliver content. So thank you so much, Shubhamji. So we've listened to all the speakers for today. And when we talk of healthy relationships in a school ecosystem, what is it that becomes super critical? What are those 4 or 5 elements that must be there is something that needs to be discussed even more. So before this session comes to an end, if any one of the speakers wants to add something, we have an open floor for the next 60 seconds. So if you want to add something, you can raise your hand and I can invite you to speak. Otherwise, we'll be going towards concluding the session. Okay, so since most of the points are covered in this conversation, before this session comes to an end, BlubWorld runs a very interesting kind of an initiative that was initiated in partnership with UNESCO and Save the Children. It's called the World Teen Parliament, where every year we try to find out teenagers across the globe who are doing amazing work, and we fund them, train them, and mentor them so that they can execute their ideas on ground. And we are celebrating 3 years of the World Teen Parliament this year. So every Tuesday, we do an interactive interaction for teenagers, which we call a voting debate, where teenagers come together every Tuesday at 8 p.m. India time. And similar to this session, they discuss topics that are important to them within their school. Are they facing some challenges? Are there any imminent topic that they think is of a lot of importance to teenagers? And then they vote and decide what kind of decisions should be placed in schools across the globe. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the Blub World Web Talks. This was the 233rd episode. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope we meet again. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day ahead. Namaste.